Good evening, and thanks so much for joining us tonight on UpNorthLive Unscripted at 6:30. The big weather story today is that wind. We have received a lot of reports of power outages, down trees, down power lines, and specifically in Grand Traverse County. Grand Traverse 911 is sharing that there have been quite a few accidents because of cars that are sliding off the road due to the wind and the ice and the snow. Just makes for a pretty nasty combination. So let's turn things over to our meteorologist, Joe Charlevoix. Joe, when will the wind start to die down a bit?
Yeah, good question. It's going to stick around for a while, but I think the good thing is the strongest winds are passing through right now. Okay. So it'll be slow. It's not going to suddenly stop. It'll be slow. And I think after midnight, the wind will continue to come down. So, we have a few more hours of this, of the strongest winds. Cherry Capital Airport, I'm looking right now. Yeah, 56 mile per hour gusts there in Traverse City. So that is doing, obviously a lot of snow on the roads. It's hard to see when you're in that whiteout situation too.
It's tough.
So we'll look at that. We'll look at the wind. There's still some lake effect snow too in some spots where we're going to see some more accumulation and some snow into the weekend too. So a lot to unpack, and we'll take a look at that, Maya, a little later.
All right. Thanks so much, Joe. Well, we know yesterday Governor Gretchen Whitmer proposed her budget recommendation for the 2026 year, and that is $83.5 billion. That's a whole lot of money. It addresses a lot of governor's priorities for the state, but one proposal could actually cost you more if you hunt or fish in Michigan. And that's not really sitting well with some Michigan lawmakers. Here is Mark Shillette with that story.
Look forward to working with each and every one of you in the weeks and months ahead to finalize a budget by July 1st that will benefit every Michigander.
That's State Budget Director Jen Flood as she presented lawmakers with the governor's $83.5 billion proposed budget. It calls for increasing in spending in a lot of different areas, but some lawmakers say it also calls for more spending from you if you hunt or fish in Michigan.
Does the DNR need more money in order to do the things that we expect the DNR to do?
They claim they do. I want to see that on paper.
State Representative John Roth and others from around northern Michigan were quick to react to their interpretation that the proposed budget uses numbers which include what they call a bump for both hunting and fishing licenses.
That's not taking into account, though, that people that are really hurting today.
The fee increases may mirror what was proposed in the state house last fall, legislation that called for a 50% increase in resident small game licenses and a combo license increase from $75 to $113. In a statement provided to UpNorthLive News, the DNR explained, quote, "It's been 10 years since hunting and fishing license prices have been adjusted in Michigan. Inflation has had a major impact on the purchasing power of revenue generated from license sales."
Just across the board to raise the fees on everybody, that's going to take a really healthy debate.
And the fact there wasn't a debate in what was proposed in the governor's budget isn't sitting well with lawmakers. The proposed legislation has not progressed significantly, and so some lawmakers feel the DNR is going out on their own with a fee hike in the new budget.
If they try and do it on their own, that's not going to go over real well with the Appropriations Committee that I sit on with them. So I hope they have a really good discussion with us and sit down and talk about this.
The DNR points out license fees have simply not kept pace with inflation. At the same time, their costs have significantly risen. Quote, "The DNR is faced with two options to manage escalating operational costs for fish and wildlife management, infrastructure repair and maintenance, technology support, and law enforcement. Seek an increase in revenue, license fee increase, or make program cuts." The DNR points out that fewer hunters over the past decade has led to a drop in license revenue. Lawmakers counter that raising prices may drive even more hunters away. It's a complicated debate, and one that may only just be beginning.
This is a start, and it's just a recommendation. A lot of work has to be done before we get to a budget that we can all agree on.
And here is an example of those increased costs. The DNR points out that the food that they use to feed the fish, the DNR stock, has increased in cost by 70% over the past few years. Now, keep in mind, this is the governor's budget recommendation. It's just a proposal. It still has a long way to go before it actually becomes the finalized budget. And it could be tough this year with a Republican-controlled state house. So we'll just have to wait and see, but there will likely be many compromises in the budget. All right, let's take a look at our question of the day related to this story. So would you be willing to pay more for a hunting or fishing license to fund the DNR? Scan the QR code on your screen right now. That'll take you to our website where you can vote. We have 244 votes right now, and Overwhelmingly, people are voting no at this point. 82% are saying no, 18% are saying yes. We have quite a few comments on our Facebook page as well, so we will keep an eye on those comments and keep track of our live results and share those with you at the end of our show. All right, turning over to another local story. So a sober living home, a high school choir, and a library are among the 12 Benzie County charities getting a nice boost. So it's part of the county's community calendar. In 2024, they featured the men of Benzie County. 2025, all about the women of Benzie County. And all of those women got to choose a charity that all of the funds would go to. So our Allie Baxter shares the moment where these women found out how much they were able to give back.
The top 4 women of Benzie gathered Thursday for the reveal of which woman sold the most calendars for their charity. Organizers also revealed the calendars raised a total of $5,900 for the 12 charities.
All the money stays in Benzie County. It doesn't go to Detroit or Washington or New York. It stays right here.
The top 4 women included Sue Weber for Hope House, who told organizers she was at first apprehensive about appearing in the calendar.
And she loved it. She loved the whole experience and what this means for the community.
Nana Deb Reed chose to support Men of Benzie School Resource Officer Matt McKinley and his program through the Sheriff's Office. Benzie Central teacher Kirsten Klein raised money for her student choir, who appeared in the calendar with her.
That's definitely, you should be part of that.
She's like a second mom to us.
Yeah, it's like definitely my second mom for sure.
Kirsten students say the money will help them get new uniforms and to go on trips.
Like Broadway shows, other choirs sing. We do competitions as well, and we have to travel for that, so gas money for sure.
The woman who sold the most calendars for her charity is Victoria Meckes for River Bend Recovery. It's soon to be Benzie County's first sober living home, and we're told the money will help them continue to renovate the property.
I'm an extremely competitive person, so I love to win. But I tell you what, all of these nonprofits today and charities, organizations, Benzie Choir, the Hope House, Officer McKinley, all of these are so good. And so, I wish we could all stand up here as saying we won today, right? But we're so richly blessed by them.
In Benzie County, Allie Baxter, UpNorthLive News.
What a great thing they're doing there in Benzie County. And Allie is joining us live now. And Allie, I know this is a story that you have covered for a while. You covered the men's edition, and it just seems like such a great idea. Where did this idea come from to create these calendars to feature people, but then to have all the money raised from buying the calendars go to organizations?
Right. So the idea actually came from Victoria herself, who ended up being one of the winners today. She said a couple years ago that this is actually something she always wanted to do. It was just a really cool way to be able to get community involvement. And Victoria and her husband, Chris, they have a bunch of different businesses within Benzie County. And something that I've noticed just over the years working with them is in everything they do, they just have this element of how can we get the community involved? Even in this calendar, I have the women's calendar here with me right now. And there are also like different things in there saying what's going on in the community, all the different festivals that happen, all the different nonprofits that are having events where you can give back as well. So in everything they do, they just have this element of, we want to get the community involved. And so it started with, hey, we want to do a calendar. And then it went with, well, what if we nominate people for the calendar and get people involved in the community? And then it was, well, not only are you in the calendar, if you're part of this 12 group of men or women, now you have to choose a charity that you want to work for as well. So it really gives like a good overview of all these different nonprofits, all these charities, and people who are making a difference in Benzie County.
And of course, I'm sure there's some charities and nonprofits that some residents may not have heard of until this calendar program. And then once they find out all the amazing work they're doing, they're like, oh, well, of course I want to support this. But I'm curious because obviously there's not 12 different women, so it's not like each person gets their own month. Can you give us a little like sneak peek through the calendar, just what each month looks like?
Yeah, so it is 12 women.
Oh, it is 12.
Each one has a month. So today it was showcasing the top 4 who sold the most calendars.
Okay.
Same thing with the men. We also did a story with them once it was like the top 4 men. But yeah, I'm trying to see if I can fit it in this box here. Here's Nana Deb Reed. She was one of the top 4 winners today. And then she raised money for Officer Matt McKinley, who we've done so many stories with about the great work that he's doing at Benzie Central Schools, giving back to kids there, having a food pantry. So this is what the inside of that calendar looks like. You have the woman and then what she does in the community and then the different nonprofits that they are raising money for. And then, of course, like I said earlier, in everything that Chris and Victoria do, there is this element of giving back and getting community involvement. So then they also put QR codes in here talking about the current events that are happening that month.
I love that. And so you mentioned that $5,900 was raised. That is a whole lot of money for some wonderful organizations. I'm just curious, how much does each calendar cost?
I believe each calendar cost $20. And it was, I believe, 10 of that went back to these different nonprofits, and then 10 went to cover the cost of making the calendars themselves. And I did ask Chris and Victoria too. I said, okay, like this was a brand new thing that you guys did last year, doing the Men of Benzie.
Yeah.
Were things different? Were people more aware of what you guys were doing this year once you introduced the Women of Benzie? And they said, yeah, we sold a lot more calendars with the women just because people now knew what we were doing and that they wanted to be a part of it. And they said they had a surge around Christmas time when, everyone is getting ready to put their new calendars up on the wall.
Right. And what a great Christmas gift too.
Exactly. They did joke about that as well, that when they had that surge, they were joking that, hey, this fits in a stocking totally. You can like shove it in there.
So all the top 4 women that you spoke with today, how are they feeling about knowing that they raised all this money for a wonderful cause?
Well, each of them, I would say, have a personal connection to each of these causes. And so it's pretty emotional for them to be able to give back. I think, not just today, but when I originally did a story when all these women were announced back in the summer, I love the Benzie Central teacher who is doing this for her choir. And in both events, the one today and in the one during the summer, some of her choir students showed up and they said, we were a part of the calendar as well, which was super special. We got to pose in the calendar with her. And they were there today as well, supporting her. And you could just see exactly what was in the story there, where they said, she's like our second mom. And, everything we do together. And you could just tell because they all showed up for her and they were there to support her. And afterwards, they were all having coffee and drinking and laughing. So it was really cool to see.
So obviously last year was the Men of Benzie County. 2025 is the women. What's in store for 2026?
Now, I thought this was super interesting, Maya, because I thought they were just going to alternate years, like go back and forth and just feature 12 different men or 12 different women after that. But now they said they want to do something a little bit different. Now, next year, their plan is to feature the schools of Benzie County.
That is so cool.
So we'll see how that manifests and how they plan, because obviously in the past they've done the 12 men, the 12 women.
Yeah.
I don't know how many schools are in Benzie County, so I'm curious to see how they're going to work this one out.
And I'm curious, too, is all the money that will be raised, will that still go to different nonprofits that the schools pick, or will it go back to the schools? Because that would be great as well.
Exactly. So they said they haven't figured out exactly the format of what they want to do with it yet, but they know that this has been extremely exciting for the last 2 years of participation and being able to touch so many different nonprofits and charities in the community, and they want to keep doing that.
And the good news is it's only February, so they have plenty of time to figure out all of the details. But if there are any folks out there who are a part of a Benzie County school that are interested, what is the process? Like, what did these women have to go through to get a month on the calendar?
In the past, it was just they opened nominations for the 12 men and the 12 women. So I don't know if it'll be different for the schools since those are obviously already in place. But in the past, when it was nominating different men and women, they opened up to the community and said, hey, you guys tell us, who do you want to see? Who do you think is a change maker here in Benzie County? And then from there, they went through and chose those different women and reached out to them and said, do you want to be a part of this? And they definitely said it was harder when they were reaching out to the men because it was so new and they had never done this before. And they're like, we know this is a weird ask. We're just calling you saying, hey, can you, represent a month in this calendar? So it was really cool to see them have so much participation from the women this year now that they had a year under their belt.
It is amazing. And I'm curious if other communities will kind of learn from this and maybe do something similar in their counties moving forward.
Yeah, I would love to see this. I've told Victoria before, I'm like, I think this would be so cool in Grand Traverse County, Leelanau County, Antrim County, just because it makes you aware of so many other nonprofits that are giving back to your community.
Absolutely. Okay, really quick, Allie, before we let you go, if you were to be in a calendar for Grand Traverse County women, what month would you want to be?
April, because that's my birthday month. So I have a personal connection there.
Easy. All right, Allie, thanks so much for joining us and sharing that amazing story out of Benzie County. We really appreciate it. But we do need to take a quick commercial break. Joe will be back with an update on your weather forecast right after this commercial break.
I'm Jada Johnson from Big Boys TV, and the Fish and Game Report is sponsored by Johnson's Propane.
Welcome back, everyone. Let's turn things right over to Joe, because there's a lot to talk about in weather, and there is an update with what's happening over the Mackinac Bridge right now.
Yeah, so we're dealing with some snow, lake effect snow, and then wind on top of it. And the wind is the big story. We've talked about this for like 3 days now, that this wind would arrive. But at the Mackinac Bridge, which you see there in the camera, you don't really see it. It's pretty much a whiteout right now, and the bridge is closed completely now. It was for just high-profile vehicles a little earlier, but the Mackinac Bridge now completely closed to all traffic because of the whiteout conditions, and on top of that, winds gusting up to 50 miles per hour. We'll keep an eye on that when the bridge does reopen as we move forward here. Here's a look at those winds. So this is the situation right now. Look at Traverse City, 58 mile per hour winds. When you get up in that category, that's when you start seeing some damage, trees, power lines, things like that, with that type of wind speed. Manistee, not far behind at Blacker Airport. Winds right now gusting to 56 miles per hour. We do have a number of counties with power outages. I should mention that around northern Michigan. So there are power outages because of this. Charlevoix, Pellston, winds gusting close to 50 miles per hour. Here are the official advisories that are in effect. So all of our lower peninsula counties outlined here in brown are under a high wind advisory. In the UP, Chippewa and Luce counties are under a winter weather advisory. That's for lake effect snow. And then up in the western UP in red, we have a blizzard warning for that region. Here's radar and kind of what we have going on. Some snow showers in the northern lower peninsula these are lake effect snow showers that have kicked in. So when you pair these bands of snow up with that wind, you get that really, really low visibility. In fact, let me see if I can find the visibility map. Sometimes that's just the best. Yeah, here's current visibility. I wanted to see that anyway. Look at Mackinac Island, 0. This is all with that snow. Manistee right now, 1.5 miles with some of that snow that's coming down. And then let's jump up to the UP and Straits right there. And there's some of that snow continuing. And again, where you see the darker shades of purple, that's where the really deep bands are of reduced visibility with that snow. All right, here's what we expect going forward. We'll start with the snow. The heaviest will be in the UP. That's lake effect snow through tomorrow. That'll wind down tomorrow night. And then here's our next system Saturday, which will primarily impact northern and central lower Michigan with some snow mid-weekend. In the short term, there's the snowfall tonight, 3 to 5 inches north of M28 in the UP. Not as much in lower Michigan, but again, a lot of blowing snow. And there's the totals. Again, Sault Ste. Marie targeting for some of the heavier snowfall between now and Friday night. Let's get to the wind. That's the story. There's right now. Watch how this kind of starts to come down into Friday. Right there. And then it'll pretty much die off by Friday night, early Saturday. So the wind slowly coming down. The extended forecast, there it is. Snow mid-weekend, so Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, some snow. It should be done for the most part by Sunday morning. And then next week, relatively quiet early on at least. A couple snow showers on Tuesday with the front. Highs next week, teens, low 20s.
Thanks, Joe. We're going to take another quick break, but sports director Harrison Beebe will be joining me live in just a few minutes. Stay with us. After a couple of nights of seeing sports director Harrison Beebe from our digital studio, he's back in our content center. Let's bring him in live now. Harrison, what's going on in the sports world today?
Maya, to go along with the news of the bridge closure, which I think Joe just touched on a few minutes ago in his weather forecast, the team that plays just north of the bridge were our guests in the Jimmy John Sports Corner. Now, we did this interview remotely, so didn't have to do a lot of travel to get up there. But the St. Ignace Saints, they're kind of a powerhouse in girls basketball. They've won a lot of state championships over the past few decades. But it's been a lot. It's been 10 years since their last state title. It's been 6 years since their last run to the Final Four. Could this be the year? The team's ranked #1 in the media polls in Division IV. We kind of asked these questions to head coach Dorian Ingles in our latest Jimmy John Sports Corner.
The following segment is sponsored by Jimmy John's of Traverse City.
Been a fun year. I don't like to compare teams because different era, different divisions, different everything. But this team is unique and they're amazing to be around. They're fun. There's never a dull moment with this group. So, but I'm proud of them. And right now I wouldn't trade them for anybody.
Do you like having a #1 ranked team?
I try to bribe Mick McCabe not to give us #1 just because we want to try to sneak in under the radar. But pretty sure we're not going to be under anybody's radar anymore. But back in the day, I used to say put us like 2 or 4 or somewhere. Don't put us 1. We don't talk about it. We really haven't discussed it in practice or in games. We just got to make our best better every day. They know that we're not where we need to be. We still have a lot of room to grow still, and we're hopefully going to fill that over the next few weeks that we have before the tournament starts. Hoping to make this another decade that we're here, because we've hit in the 90s and the 2000s and the 10s, and now this would be the 2020s. So that'd be kind of cool.
You don't hear people talk about that a lot, but I get not wanting to be ranked #1 and wanting to kind of be more of that underdog, but no one really says that.
Yeah, right. I can see the benefits to both sides. Like she said, though, they were going to be pretty hyped up regardless. So I think they're kind of accepting of that. And they've had teams that have won in the past, so she knows what she's doing.
And full Jimmy John's tonight at 11? Full Jimmy John's? That was just
full
a sneak
Jimmy's
peek,
at 11,
right?
Yeah.
All right, we'll see all of your conversation with the coach then. But Harrison, they'll do it for sports at 6:30. We're going to take one more commercial break. We'll come back and check out our live results for our question of the day. Stay with us.
Salon services are furnished by Epiphany Advanced Academy in East Acme.
Taking one last look at the live results for our question of the day. Would you be willing to pay more for a hunting or fishing license to fund the DNR? 82% are saying no, 18% are saying yes. About 80 people are leaving comments on our Facebook page. I don't have time to read those, so just head on over there to join in on the conversation. But that will do it for Up North Live Unscripted on this Thursday evening. We'll see you back here tonight at 11 o'clock.